Hello, welcome back everyone to Asturis City in City Skylines. Let's continue building big. After the hospital project from last time, we will move right next to it into the last empty area in the downtown and start working on a government block. At least that was the initial idea, but it soon turned into a crazy plaza project that puts all other plazas in the city to shame. It will of course be very vertical, it will have trams, lots of greenery as well, and I'm going to be using AI to help me detail it. Around it, there will be very high density city blocks together with the government center. Let's go build it. So like I said, the initial idea for this place was a government center, and that's what I started building right from the start. So I was just browsing various tall buildings that I had, and I finally decided to use these. I want to use some kind of darker buildings, definitely blue. That's just a nice color to have for these kinds of structures. And I wanted to have it a little bit more unique. I was given suggestions for various building sizes, building configurations, and I finally got this particular shape. So it's basically the combination of this tower to make it look like some longer structures, two longer on the sides and two shorter in the middle. And it's just going to be this block of buildings that's going to be really big footprint. And yeah, as you can see, when I zoom out, it's definitely visible right from the start. It's pretty much exactly the same size as the stadium, maybe even bigger. Definitely together with the plaza, it's going to be much bigger than the stadium. So it's going to be just visible right from the start, and it's going to scream that it is some kind of important structure. So that was that. It's, kind of a straightforward build, really. Just put a couple of buildings in here, not really detail it all that much at first, and that's basically done. So that was defined, and now I just needed to build the plaza. And when I started building it, I had some kind of idea how I wanted to do it. At first, I was thinking it's going to be just an ordinary open space, just to really have those buildings have some kind of breathing space in front of them so that they will be more monumental, more visible from afar and from the first person shots from the trams, because we are obviously going to do those. There are these tram tracks. One of them is the ring line that I finally connected today. That's complete. And the other one, this one that I'm building right now, that's the one that goes just from the downtown. Right now I don't exactly remember which one that is, but that's not going to be exactly finished because it needs to continue past these government buildings somewhere. I haven't yet decided what's going to be there. Probably some kind of extension of those government buildings, something shorter, but we are not going to be dealing with that today. So anyway, yeah, so that plaza only had one purpose, and that was to just make those government buildings shine. At this point, I just wanted to define some kind of basic geometry with the tram tracks. I wanted to have the tram tracks not straight through the area because that would be just boring. So I was just, trying to see what might work. It was at this point when I already knew that it's going to be a very vertical plaza. So I was heavily playing with elevations. This entire area in front of the government buildings is actually in a little valley. It's not super visible from the time-lapse, I guess, but it actually is quite a deep valley. This road in particular down there has actually quite steep grade right now because it goes down to that intersection. And it was clear that there just need to be different kinds of levels. So eventually, this road is going to be hidden beneath the plaza. It's only going to resurface towards that intersection. And just overall, the black asphalt surfaces are just going to be on the lowest level, and pedestrians will just have the plaza on the top together with the trams. So that was pretty clear. So I just took the usual stairs network and I started measuring some of the elevations, and it was clear that I'm going to have 3 levels of the plaza because that's going to perfectly match the sizes of the stairs that I also prepared there. So I was just trying to figure out some preliminary geometry for the stairs, where I'm going to make them go, and how am I going to end the plaza towards the downtown. So I eventually decided that I'm going to do it with this, like a wall. At first, I wanted to do it the usual way, and that is just some kind of commercial wall, right? I'm kind of doing that a lot in some previous projects. Even in Aurelia, I was doing that heavily, when I'm just going to do these kinds of repeating structures, form some sort of like a wall, even like a curved wall, in this particular case straight, but a wall nonetheless. And it's just going to be some kind of entrance to some kind of super block, you know, next to it or on top of it or something like that. So the usual, basically, right? And even the stairs are kind of the usual. So, you know, I was just trying to spice it up with some kind of geometry of the stairs, as you can see that right here. And overall, I was just thinking, you know, what exactly am I going to do around here? So I was doing this, I think, still on the live stream. And I was given the suggestion to just turn that wall into some kind of a painting, right? Or a mural or something like that, like even a graffiti maybe or something. But I don't know, I don't really have any assets like that, so I was just browsing the assets. I'm not really even showing that in the time-lapse, I think, but I did download pretty much every single asset in the workshop after you search for the keyword mural. And there are just like a lot of them, right? Some various pictures from real life, I guess, some kind of famous murals even. So I was just, you know, browsing them, looking at them. I did not particularly like them, because I would just need a lot of them and they would need to somewhat match on that particular wall that I have there. And I don't know, I just didn't like it, so I eventually abandoned the idea, and perhaps I considered to just leave it as the commercial wall. But let's not jump ahead. I'm going to show you how exactly I dealt with that particular situation. Now, I definitely wanted to also continue that super high density feel from the downtown. This is actually something that I was doing in that pedestrian valley that's going to the opposite side of the downtown, if you remember that project with the tram tracks directly through the middle. So I wanted to do some kind of a similar thing over here, but have it as the edge of the downtown. It's going to be just this little block that I'm putting together right now, but in the next episode, we are going to continue this entire project. We are just going to like enclose it. Actually, the next episode is going to be the last episode where I'm going to do this kind of super high density building, because it's done everywhere else in the city. What I just need to do is finish it around here, and that's going to be it. So what I'm doing right now is kind of preparing the edge of that, right? Yeah, sure, it's not exactly logical. There are going to be some gaps between today's project and the rest of the city, as always with these kinds of builds. But I was just going into this project thinking I'm going to build it all. But then I got caught up with that plaza, because you will see. It's going to be a very, very interesting project, and it took a really long time to put it together. So yeah, this is going to be just focusing on that plaza and its immediate surroundings. But in the next one, we are going to finish it. But finally, I'm going to get to the point of what this block is supposed to be. So this is going to be the edge of that high density stuff, and that's why I'm building it, so that it's going to like gradually decrease in height. So that's why on these edges in here, I'm really picking only very short buildings, at least short for Asturis. And on the very edges in here, like really short buildings, only like 3-4 floor structures to just end it and have like a gradually decreasing, like a block, like a big block of buildings, okay? So that's exactly the point behind this entire monstrosity right there. But you will see next time in the cinematics for sure how it makes sense in the overall like scheme of the city. So yeah, that was pretty much defined, and now it was time to do the usual. And I guess that in just a couple of moments, I'm going to make a decision here that's going to heavily influence the final shape of the plaza. So at this point, it was kind of business as usual, really. I was just using the asphalt, ploppable asphalt, to just put it there. At first, I just kept it black because I haven't decided on the color yet at this point. And then I was just combining these stairs, making sure that it's prepared to finally do these surfaces. And here we go. Now I'm doing those surfaces. So, you know, so far so good, so far so normal, I guess, right? So just these kinds of asphalt surfaces. I was obviously already thinking how I'm going to continue this. This plaza is huge. I think it is, even like footprint-wise, it's the largest plaza in the city. Asturis doesn't really have very large plazas, I never really did like open spaces that much in the city because Asturis is supposed to be super high density, right? So the plazas are kind of limited. I think that the main plaza in Altengrad, for example, is way bigger than any of the previous plazas that we have done in Asturis. So this one is going to be completely different compared to the rest of the projects. So this obviously means that detailing inside the plaza needs to be quite massive. There needs to be something really unique, something that's going to break up the space, because otherwise it's just going to look stupid, right? Just fill it with some planters. I have done that like 1,000 times before. Or do some kind of a pond there. I mean, that's also what I did recently, actually, 2 episodes back, I think, with that plaza at the back of the mall. So yeah, that's not exactly unique at all. I don't know. I was just thinking at this point. I was just thinking how I'm going to do that. So the initial idea for making something interesting was to include waterfalls. Okay, because obviously this plaza is on many different levels. I was thinking I'm going to create like a stream that's just going to run through the plaza. It's going to have some kind of rocks, the waterfalls, animated waterfalls, and changed with procedural objects, and you know, those kinds of things. So I was totally convinced that that's exactly how it's going to happen. And even I was already planning some surroundings of the government buildings. And that's actually what I am going to do. I'm going to create like ponds in like parks around. And I was thinking that maybe I could have connected those towards the plaza, inside the plaza, and into some more artificial looking little streams running through it, right? So it would be just all connected together into some sort of water network, yeah, water element network, those kinds of things. That was the idea, yeah, that was the idea. At this point, I guess, in the time-lapse when I was building all of this, you know, it was not that super necessary to decide it because I just had to just fill it with all the surfaces. But yeah, the decision had to arrive sooner rather than later. Now, this plaza is, of course, huge, and Asturis is supposed to be in a tropical environment, so I need to think about also some greenery. So some of these roofs are going to be covered with green. Actually, that super block that I just put together, that's also going to receive lots of green roofs and then some just, you know, detailing, green detailing on it. So this area is actually going to be surprisingly green after I'm done with it. It's obviously still going to have huge surfaces, just, you know, without any shade. But, you know, I was explaining that million times before. I just want to see the people move around. I don't want to really hide it all, even at the expense of, you know, realism, I guess. But, you know, come on, it's Asturis. Right, so now I was doing like a very important thing, and that is I decided to just do the surface clipped. Okay, I just clipped it and I just put asphalt over it. That's going to be very important later. And now I did one thing. So I used AI to generate a couple of images, like 20 images, yeah, something like that, maybe even more. And I decided to just use them as procedural objects, textures, and put them on this wall. So they are all square images, I think 1K textures. And I was just asking the AI to do like a futuristic city, night city, tropical city, on these kinds of things, yeah, so these kinds of keywords. And it came up with these really nice looking pictures, kind of like synthwave looking album covers sometimes, but also these sort of pictures, right, that may or may not look like Asturis, maybe from some different angles, but they definitely look nice. And they are just these kinds of murals around here that are just going to be as a decoration on the side of this wall. So the building underneath it right now is actually not needed. I think I did finally remove it, but yeah, as you can see, this is just it. This is so much better. This is so different, right, compared to just those commercial entrances that I would otherwise put there. So, you know, something unique. Why not? On this little commercial block, I put the same pictures, or like different pictures, but the same style. And I just decorated the edges between them with that like a holographic, shiny yellow light. Just a block, just a procedural object block that's just, filling the gap. Nothing all that crazy. Right, and this is finally it. So, at this point, I still wanted to work with the idea of some kind of a stream that's just going to run from the top levels down to the bottom. And maybe all the way to the sea or something, cut through the city blocks a little, whatever. But yeah, sure, so I was preparing the edges of it. I was just painting some of these organic shapes. And as you can see, I'm making it go towards the stairs where it's going to just go, it's going to be those animated waterfalls just running over the stairs all the way down to this bottom pond. It's going to have 3 places of origin. So one smaller one is going to be right here on this side. It's just going to run to that level below it. Another one here next to the tram stop. And the third one is going to be next to or in front of these government buildings. That's going to be the largest pond. And this one was supposed to be connected to some kind of natural ponds behind those government buildings. But yeah, I eventually did not do that. So I was just trying to experiment with some sort of these waterfalls. I was trying to make them work with the stairs to make it look like they are actually running on the stairs. Obviously, I would not have those stairs beneath the waterfalls. I would put some kind of rocks there, natural detailing, these kinds of things. But at this point, I just abandoned it. It looked weird. The waterfall just looked too aggressive, right? It was just running too fast, and it just did not really fit that particular purpose. So I ditched the idea, and I was thinking that I'm just going to have like a connection below the stairs where the water is going to run. Maybe I would detail it later somehow, but at this point, I just closed it, and it's just going to be the stairs uninterrupted, okay? Now, then I had a very practical problem in this area, like detailing-wise practical, yeah? And that is related to how am I actually going to put water over here? I could have done it just like I did it with that mall plaza, and that is use actual water, but I could not do it for the upper levels. The water would just spill over the stairs because there is not enough spacing between the different ponds, okay? So that would not work. So, okay, I would then do it just like I did it next to the chapel. That is, using glass, as I'm doing right here, and then putting blue colored asphalt below it so that it would look like water. It would be kind of like a still water, very rigid looking. So, but it would be okay. But then I just continued with this, and I realized, why actually add the water? Why not keep it like this? Just looking into the void. So it's some kind of illusion. You are just looking down into the sky. If you fell down into the void, you would just fall off the earth or something like that. Or maybe it's like an illusion that gives you the impression that maybe Asturis is actually flying. It's a flying city, something like in the last BioShock game, yes? Something like that. So it just happened completely accidentally, and I decided to roll with it. Now, anyway, at this point, I'm also adding another AI element, and that's these tiles. Again, I let the AI generate these tiles. I think I just asked it to create like abstract tiling shape or something like that. And then I just let it run a couple of times. I think I got some 8 different variations out of these from these 4 similar looking tiles. And first I'm just using the single one here because I need to get the spacing right. And then I'm just going to randomly select some of them and copy paste the different types. So it's again something completely different from the usual detailing. So I just kept the surface below it. I'm going to turn it into blue. I kind of want to have this entire area more toned towards blue colors. And yep, I'm doing that right here. There's just going to be some kind of highlights with warm colors around, but it's mostly going to be favoring blue and green. And then I'm just going to do the edges of the plaza with more like broken shapes or broken patterns of these tiles. So towards the government buildings, I'm definitely not going to be putting these squares absolutely everywhere. And later I'm actually going to delete some more and replace some with some details, with planters. Actually, I'm going to do that last. And, you know, it's just going to look different, right? I haven't done anything like this before. So once again, it's just going to be a very unique plaza in pretty much every aspect. This is the highlight, just between the stairs, some kind of different color just to highlight the stairs some more. But otherwise, in this entire plaza, I was using pretty much the same proven techniques. I was heavily using those procedural objects, asphalt circles. By the way, I don't think I ever mentioned that in any video, but you guys keep asking about it. Why don't you have the draw function for procedural objects with, for example, the squares or different kinds of objects? Well, that's because the draw function is only available for ploppable surfaces and only circles. Yeah, no other shapes, only circles. Right, so I was using so many of these circles and I was just tracing all of these different shapes, all of these curves around the area. And I do have a lot of curves around this area. Obviously, I did those void holes with those organic shapes, edges, lots of curves there. So I had to trace all of that with just the good old techniques using the surfaces like that. If it was just a regular terrain surface, I could just, you know, clip that. But obviously you cannot clip the procedural objects. That's not how it works. So yeah, I had to use the good old techniques for that I was using right from the start of these kinds of plaza projects. But well, at least we have that draw function, right? If I was doing that manually, one vertex at a time, I would probably go crazy. So once again, just another example of just more tools enabling different things that I would otherwise not bother with. Now, anyway, enough of that. I also want to have this plaza, I don't want to have it just shiny and kind of utopian, right? I'm doing these kinds of little technical details all around Asturis. I'm trying to give you the impression, or I'm trying to create the impression that there are a lot of things happening below the surface in Asturis. So I was doing that heavily in the downtown, for example. Well, kind of depends if I remember it or not, but I try to do it in the downtown. And that is somewhere between the buildings, between the high rises, for example. I'm just going to use the black asphalt, just leave it black. Then I'm going to put the decals on top of it, make it look a little rough, and then just on top do some sort of air ducts, ACs, different pipes, and even highlight it with different lights during the night. Yeah. So I'm going to do that over here as well. And it's just a little, tiny little indication that Asturis is like a very vertical city, that there are a lot of things happening below it. All the kind of engineering, all the kind of maintenance, I don't know, warehouses, maybe even some manufacturing, some, I don't know, IT, whatever, yeah? Pretty much just like a regular city, yeah, sure, but I guess taken to extreme, maybe? So around this plaza, I would really like to add that too. So you have the shiny plaza on the top, that's where all the people are walking, that's where the greenery is, you know, everyone's happy on the top. And below the surface, there is going to be that engineering, that infrastructure that just allows all of these things on the surface, all the pipes supplying all the ponds and fountains and everything, you know, the usual things, but also some of the more futuristic things, I guess. So this little corner is just going to be a tiny little indication of that, but I think a necessary indication so that you really have something on the side that's just going to remind you that, yep, even though this place is vertical and all the levels are mostly nice, there are some technical stuff beneath it as well. There are also going to be these connecting bridges over this main road down here. I'm going to detail the main road the usual way, of course, but I'm not going to do any kind of buildings on this last quadrant of this entire intersection area. That's where the bridges are leading to, but I'm just kind of preparing it for next time so I don't forget about it. I just had the idea for the bridges, so, you know, I just included it right now, and also needed to include them because I'm going to be doing all these ads around them. That's also kind of reinforcing the idea that this is like the worst part of the plaza. That's kind of where the plaza is already ending. It doesn't go all the way here. and this is like the usual Asturis look right next to it, okay? Now, at this point, it was all about just, doing the final details. I needed to break the surfaces even more. So, for example, up there on that terrace above that AI picture wall, I needed to make the surface just smaller. There are not going to be that many people, I don't think, walking around there. So let's just break it. Let's just make it more green. I'm not going to completely finish this particular terrace, this particular tram stop, for example, there in that right corner, right upper corner, because that just needs to be connected to different city blocks closer to the downtown. And I seriously did not really have the energy to build all of that for today's project. So that's just going to be left unfinished, but I think you will agree with me that in the cinematics, this place is more than enough for a single project anyway. Now, this is just me putting grass on some of the roofs on that super block, because otherwise it would be just, boring roofs, and the greenery in here is obviously going to do wonders for the looks, overall looks. I was doing very similar thing in that pedestrian valley in the downtown, so I just wanted to do pretty much the exact same thing over here. This is the greenery, the start of the greenery in the main plaza. So the first thing I did was to just put randomly these kinds of square planters in instead of some of those tiles. I'm going to later remove the tiles from beneath the planters, and I'm just going to later put some kind of like actual greenery inside to provide some shade and mostly just some random detail into the place. But this time it's kind of interesting how it just, follows the shape or the pattern of the tiles. So I did not really put the planters where the tiles were not. So it just works with them, right? It just works with the entire shape and pattern and just feel of the plaza. I also wanted to put some kind of planters on the stairs, actually super similar to what I did back in Aurelia near the library. Yeah, on the stairs going down from the library, if you remember. But there I did them much bigger and much more complicated. Here I did not really bother. I just used a single planter asset, as you can see over there. And I did all the palm trees everywhere else. Let's actually just use these pongum trees in here because they are huge. They have like a very huge, the top part, right? So they have, you can put them on a relatively small planter, but they are going to just provide huge shade on like a very large area. So that's perfect in this place, though the stairs are almost completely in shade. So that's nice. I had to scale down those trees, as you could have seen, because otherwise they were maybe too big for this purpose. But, well, actually, maybe not. It might have been maybe interesting if I kept them in the original size. Now, I also, with procedural objects, made these planters look a little new, much newer, much fancier. They were a little scuffed originally. The texture is a little dirty, so I just put on the texture like actual green rectangle to make that surface green, more grassy, more alive. And then the structure, the concrete structure, I made it a little brighter to match it with the color of the rest of the walls, the stairs, and, just the overall feel, really. Now, this part. All right, so I told the AI to generate me one more set of images. And this one in particular was supposed to be just a night sky. I think I told it something like night sky, galaxies, yeah, something like that. Just super simple, and they gave me another image. I upscaled the image to 4K because I knew I wanted to stretch it a lot. And I would like to put it below the plaza so that it would be visible from all of the voids in here. And then I made it move. So I basically created like an actual sky in the void, and it's gonna be just like visible there, yeah? So people can just sit around. By the way, yeah, I forgot to mention, I did not put any benches inside the plaza. I'm saying that because you guys are always mentioning that I don't do benches, but people can just sit on the sides of the planters or the sides of those void holes. There's glass on the top, so it's gonna be perfectly safe. No one's going to fall off the earth. Don't worry. And there's just plenty of space for sitting there. So yeah, that's it. That's the night sky down there. It's moving. It's maybe reflecting the actual sky that's above, because Asturis is very lit during the night, right? So there's absolutely no way you're gonna see the night sky because of the light pollution. So maybe this void plaza is actually displaying the actual sky, yeah, because you cannot see it when you look up, so you're gonna see it when you look down. Maybe that's the lore explanation of this particular element in there. Now, during the day, I still have the night sky in there, but I just generated another image. This time, I just told the AI to generate clouds, day, sky, something like that. It was kind of funny because I also told it to give me like a view up, yeah, so that it would be resembling just your view into the sky above, right? So I told it camera up, and it actually generated like a physical picture of a camera pointing at the sky. So that was a bit naive of me, so I eventually did not use that. But anyway, that's it. Look at that. That's done. Yeah. It's huge. It's huge. It's by far the largest plaza in the city. Far larger than any of the previous ones, maybe even combined with all of them. And well, unfortunately, it's not going to be particularly alive at this point. It's the same story. I think I was saying that even in the last episode, that Asturis has this problem. We are just building, and these places are not going to be completely done until all of the projects around them are done. But that is the beauty of this project, because I did it pretty much in the middle of nowhere. It's not really connected to the previous blocks. So the next project that we're going to do is going to focus exactly on that and on that only. So I'm just going to fill all of these blocks around this new plaza, which means that it will receive a lot of pedestrians going into the tram stops over here, going into shops down below, and all the residential buildings around. And it's just going to be very alive. So I'm also going to do lots of pedestrian paths through the plaza. I already did some, just so it's connected to the tram stops, but I definitely did not do it everywhere. So yeah, there's just a few people walking on just a few paths around. I just did not bother even showing that in the time lapse. There were more important things to focus on, but yeah, those pedestrian paths, I will expand them in the future. I would like to also connect those bridges there that I just prepared over the road, as you can see there, and all these kinds of things. So this is actually very new for me as well, because I was not exactly sure if I did the animation of the sky correctly, if maybe the sky is moving too fast down below, but nah, it's probably okay. This is that AI picture wall on the side of those bottom levels. Yeah, they fit. They kind of look like Asturis, or at least how I maybe imagined Asturis in some earlier concepts. Actually, there is one picture in particular that was pretty much exactly like I imagined Asturis at the start. I imagined it to be much more vertical, built in like very deep valleys or something like that. Maybe that's going to be possible in City Skylines too, in some very distant future after we get all of these possibilities, because City Skylines 2 has much higher range of terrain differences. So who knows? Maybe that's gonna be there instead of in here. But yeah, look at this. So this is the overall view of the plaza. I guess that from some distance, the tiles, the blue tiles on the blue surface, the light blue tiles on the dark blue surface, they are kind of resembling, maybe, I'm not really sure, but if you imagine that Matrix wall, yeah, from the movie, if you imagine it blue, how all the lines of code were like falling down, right? Then maybe it's like a similar feel I get from it, but it doesn't really matter. It's just looking nice. Obviously, I also highlighted the night view with some lights down in those holes. And with procedural objects, I made sure that during the night, you will actually get a cube with the night sky texture, and during the night, or during the day, with the clouds and day texture. Yeah, so there are two objects, And one of them is only visible during the night, one of them during the day. And there are also those holographic shiny bars at the government buildings, the blue ones. Anyways, yeah, this is the moving night sky. For this particular shot, I got rid of all the street lights just to have it highlighted. Anyway, guys, that's going to be it for today's Asturis episode. Thank you for watching it. If you liked it, then please do all the necessary things below it. Clicking, rating, sharing, subscribing, you know the drill. And big thanks to channel supporters, channel members who are directly supporting this channel, supporting me in what I'm doing. Huge thanks. I hugely appreciate it. Thank you again, guys. Take care. Goodbye.